What up? It's your favorite shit-talking squirrel, back for another YouTube video. So I am just a sucker for a good Iceberg video, and I'm also an Unsolved Mysteries junkie, so I found myself late at night frequently, perusing these various Iceberg charts, and if you don't know what they are, do you even internet, bro? No, it's simple. They're a chart of various topics with a subject. They start off light at the highest point of the iceberg, and then deeper and darker you descend into the iceberg, the heavier and more disturbing the content gets. As you read from the title, this one is an obscure Unsolved Mysteries iceberg. I thought I knew, a lot of these unsolved mysteries on the internet, but boy fucking howdy was I wrong. This iceberg is absolutely massive. We'll only go through about half of the first section in today's video, but, if it does well, we'll explore it even deeper, maybe perhaps a different iceberg at some point, who knows. Bottom line, I found this stuff fascinating, perhaps you will too. I hope so. But, without further ado, let's just jump on into this bad boy, shall we? Y'all got your ice climbing hooks and your parkas ready? Yeah? Okay, great. Let's get this. Alberto Gordoni. So the tale of Alberto Gordoni goes all the way back to 1700s Italy in the small artisan city of Catania, Sicily, Italy. Alberto was simply walking through the town when in the blink of an eye, he vanished. And this ain't just your standard missing persons report, where, we kind of don't know really what happened, somebody was there, and then they just up and vanished. No. According to reports from the 1700s, we know exactly what happened to Alberto. Several villagers reported seeing him physically blip out of reality. In 1 second he was standing there, and in the next, he was not. Townspeople would search high and low with not so much of a peep from Alberto for 22 years. Until one day, at the exact same spot where he vanished, poof, he just comes back. From some 2 decades previously, he just reappears. According to the tale, he did not appear to have aged even a single day. Although when asked, Alberto explained he had no memory of where he went during this 22 years. It was as if time had not skipped at all, almost as if he had just traveled through time itself. Until one day, he confided in the priest of the town, and according to him, he told the priest, quote, Alberto suddenly fell into a tunnel, and it took him to a white and ambiguous world. There were no objects, only bizarre accessories. Alberto saw something similar on a small canvas covered with stars and dots, each of which pulsated in its own way. There was a golden creature with long hair who told Gordoni that he fell into the crack of time and space, and it would be very difficult to get him back. Alberto ardently asked to be returned, but the creature was in no hurry, and began to tell him about the holes that open in the dark. About some white drops, and thoughts that move at the speed of light. About a soul without flesh, and a body without soul. About flying cities with forever young residents, until he was suddenly launched back to the place where it all started. To Alberto, it felt as if only a half an hour had passed by. The priest stared at Alberto, aghast, white in the face, and eventually brought the man back to where he initially disappeared, only for him to disappear for a second time, only this time, it was for good. So, what happened here? In my opinion, nothing. This sounds like the making of an old wives' tale, and, given the story's age and Italy's propensity for tall tales, I don't hold this mystery up with a whole lot of regard. Fascinating as it might be, just somebody blipping out of existence, it's, I don't know, man, this one's, not, I don't put a lot of stock in this one. It's a crock. Not a crock of soup or a crock of chop. A crock of shit. Like some soupy shit stew. Like lucid bull poopy. Taken for the face value of the man who told it, who apparently disappeared. So, whatever. Take it for what it's worth. Next! The British bombed the 1939 World's Fair. So, back in 1939, as the world was on the precipice of the Second World War, New York decided it would be just the perfect time to throw another World's Fair. With the theme this year being the future, The slogan of the fair was Dawn of a New Day and featured over 60 participating countries in an old ash dump in Queens. The fair saw such exhibits as a life-size replica of Moscow Metro Station. Great Britain brought the Magna Carta and the Crown Jewel, although many believe it wasn't the actual Crown Jewel. And the French Pavilion opened a restaurant called La Pavilion, which was so popular it ended up moving to Manhattan shortly afterwards due to a very lucrative run. Things would not carry on so gloriously, however, as late in the fair season on Tuesday, July 2nd, 1940, almost 6 months since the fair's opening day, a bomb would go off in the British Pavilion, killing 2 bomb squad detectives from NYPD, Detective Joseph Lynch and his partner Ferdinand Soka. The unsolved mystery portion of this relates to speculation surrounding Britain's own involvement in the bombing, with many rumors swirling around America's disinterest in participating in what would become World War II. Many believed Britain detonated the bomb on themselves to instill not just sympathy, but patriotism within America. Now, do I hold any stock in this theory? Possibly. However, what I find to be more plausible was that before America involved itself in the Second World War, there were actually factions of fascist Nazi sympathizers growing in America. More importantly, in New York, a rather large faction had actually uprose itself in New York, near Queens even, to such a degree that a pro-Nazi rally actually took place in the same year as the World's Fair. And several bombings of similar modus operandi were attributed to this same faction of Nazi sympathizers. So, despite the fact that Great Britain has categorically denied any involvement in the bombing, I find it much more feasible that the Nazi skinheads did the bombing alongside their several other attacks that were basically carried out in the same manner. Again, it's just my opinion. You can research the topic and decide for yourself, but for now, we'll move on. Next! The Kinross Incident. So, the Kinross Incident is basically just this guy named Felix, who was an Air Force pilot. He was en route to redirect a Canadian Air Force pilot who was off course. And he just completely disappeared. A lot of people think it's aliens, but he crashed into Lake Superior. I don't mean to brush this one off. It's just there are way better incidents of supposed UFO abduction than this one. I'm not a skeptic, nor am I a believer. I'm somewhere in the middle. I will say, however, it's pretty arrogant of us to assume that in such a vast universe, in a universe that is so large, our brains truly aren't even capable of comprehending how big it is. You know, much like an ant is not capable of seeing how large the Earth is in comparison. Actually, it'd be more accurate to say like a microscopic germ or an amoeba is not able to comprehend how big the Earth is in comparison. But regardless, it is arrogant for us to assume that we are the only living or intelligent life in such a vast universe. That being said, this one ain't aliens. Alright? Felix is at the bottom of Lake Superior. Mystery solved. Next! The Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone. Ooh, finally we're getting into some actual mysterious shit that makes me go, what the fuck is that? I'm actually from New Hampshire originally as well, so this case quite literally hits close to home. I went to college in the Lakes region of New Hampshire, and I used to work for Laconia Fire Department, which covers Lake Winnipesaukee. I know that lake and that area very well. It's a gorgeous area of the United States, by the way. The people are just pleasant as all can be. If you guys ever want a New England fall vacation, I highly recommend going to Lake Winnipesaukee. Jimmy Fallon actually has a house up there. Anyways, so they find this rock at the bottom of Lake Winnipesaukee, and they have no fucking clue where it comes from. And this ain't just like your Easter Island shit where you can kind of speculate, oh, you know, they should be those big rock, whatever. No. The carvings on this rock look to have been made by 1/8 inch and 3/8 inch drill bits. However, the aging on the stone itself puts it way before that technology was ever even available. Shit, the stone itself was found back in 1872. Yeah, we may have had hand drills back then, but nothing even close to the way of a machine shop that would be required to make something like this. It's almost as if somebody made this rock in the 20th century, went back in time, placed it in a big pile of mud, and then just tossed it in the middle of the lake. It's fucking insane. State archaeologist Richard Bovair later suggested that the holes can only have been man-made by power tools from the 20th century. However, a borescope analysis suggested the stone was some 400 years old. Makes sense of that. Do the fucking math out on that one. Play the fucking, the GIF thing with all the numbers and the weird lady in her face. Yeah, try to make sense of that shit. Fuck out of here with that. He said, quote, I've seen a number of holes bored in stone with technology that you would associate with prehistoric North America. There's a certain amount of unevenness, and this hole was extremely regular throughout. What we did not see was variations that could be consistent with something that was seen several hundred years ago. So in other words, what the fuck? Where did this thing come from? Ugh! Contemporary sources suggest the stone commemorates a treaty between two tribes and was meant to symbolize a thunderstone, which I guess back in those days, it was a stone that tribes would make to attract the attention of thunderbolts, basically a lightning rod. So anyways, what's BP's opinion on this one? I legit have no fucking clue. This is weird, man. My intuition kind of leads me to believe like maybe they got the aging wrong, and it just wasn't down there as long as people think it has been. But that is like the closest I can come to making any semblance of sense out of this. This is a bona fide mystery. I want to steal this thing and find I probably shouldn't put that out on the internet. It's gonna end up going missing. I just named myself as a suspect. The internet is forever. Whatever, I'm not fucking editing this out. Next! The Hudson River Patchwork Monster. So the Hudson River Patchwork Monster is not the Hudson River Monster, which is basically just people claiming they saw Nessie in the Hudson River. No, my friends. The Patchwork Monster is far scarier and actually far more legitimate. According to a book called America's Nightmare Monsters, a shopkeep from the 1800s found a man-fish pig just swimming along the Hudson River. According to the book, while hunting along the Hudson River near Albany, Michael Griffa, an Italian shopkeeper from Troy, saw an animal swimming in the river. He shot it and brought it back to Troy. It was about 2 feet long. The back was covered in coarse hair, and the underside was the color of human flesh. The features and trunk bear a striking resemblance to a female child. It has a well-developed chest and breastbone. There are wings measuring 20 inches from tip to tip, 4 legs, and 2 fins, and a tail somewhat resembling that of a pig's. It hangs against a wall at Griff's store with the underside exposed. The visitors are impressed with the grotesque human features. Impressed is a word. Several doctors have examined it, but are at a loss to place it. The monstrosity has been placed in alcohol and has been sent to the Smithsonian in Washington for further study. Jesus, look at this fucking thing. It is a monstrosity. Like, I don't think that monster is even an accurate description. This thing is a fucking abomination. Look at this fucking... We shouldn't be sending it to the Smithsonian. We should be sending it to one of those fucking, like, car crushers or a fucking crematorium. Like, kill it. Kill it with fire. But no, like, for real? This one? I don't fucking know, dude. Like, quite frankly, there's a lot more research about this one that I dove into that is way more convincing than the other stories I told you about today. I mean, they say we know less about the ocean than we do outer space. They're still finding creatures in the Mariana Trench that have never been discovered before, and scientists cannot figure out, like, why the fuck does a fish swim that way? We have no idea. It lives down in deep ocean. It costs too much to research it, so we'll just never fucking know. It's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that some weird fucking creature swam out of the ocean, up the Hudson River, and we just found it. Like, honestly, out of all of these stories, I probably find this the most plausible. Go Go figure. Out of all the stories we've heard today, the fucking man-fish pig with an elephant trunk is most believable. What the fuck is this list? Next! The Frozen Cyclist. So I couldn't really find much on this one beyond a story from a book called It Happened to Me, Real Life Tales of the Paranormal. Basically what happens in the story is these two guys are driving down the street in the Scottish Highlands, and the driver sees what looks like a silhouette. He thinks it's like a road sign at first, like a mannequin dressed up in Christmas lights, he describes it as, but then they get closer and they realize that it's a guy who is standing still mid-pedal on a bicycle, like standing up straight, even though he would have, basically be fallen over. And they think it's really weird, but they keep going, and they come back the next day, and he's in the same position, but on the opposite side of the road. I mean, this could just be a guy riding a bike that they just happen to catch in the right light. This is like, in my opinion, this is a dumpy one. This ain't no mystery. They both saw a guy driving a bike, and it creeped them out. So, next! Jetpack Man. Oh, I fucking love Jetpack Man! He's the absolute OG. He's the real-life Iron Man. He did it before Tony Stark did. So for anyone who isn't familiar, Jetpack Man is exactly what it sounds like. It's a guy who made a jetpack and was seen flying over Los Angeles. Okay, here's a news report covering one of the sightings that happened since, 2021.
It's one of LA's most intriguing and dangerous aviation mysteries we've reported on, but we may finally have our first glimpse of the infamous Jetpack Daredevil. This is video from a pilot capturing what appears to be the elusive Jetpack Man flying off the coast of Palos Verdes at about 3,000 feet elevation. It's the first sighting since October of Jetpack Guy after a string of airline pilots reported seeing someone on a jetpack flying near LAX. There are now ongoing FAA and FBI investigations.
So it's actually not that special anymore. There are a lot of handmade jetpacks. The military has been working on making some of these jetpack suits for tactical reasons. I mean, shit, even Red Bull, they do some stunts with what they call jetpack daredevils out in Dubai. But nonetheless, this captured the minds of everyone, especially people out in the Los Angeles area for years. As you just heard, nobody knew who this guy was. Technically, he was breaking federal airway traffic control laws and was being I believe he still is being investigated by the FBI. They claim it was nothing more than, I've heard different stuff, that it was a Jack Skellington balloon, and many were saying that it was actually, like a drone with a mannequin attached to it. The last known sighting was in June of 2022, and speculation leads us to believe that he either died or has given up flying due to, the pressure building up with it being illegal, or, it's just not really a novelty anymore with a lot of other people doing this. But I like to believe he's still out there somewhere, punting seagulls or jump scaring airplane passengers. But rest assured, he will still fly high in all of our hearts and our dreams. Fly high, Jetpack Man, wherever you are. Next! Who Built the Moon? So Who Built the Moon is a book by Christopher Knight and Alan Butler, and although you may at first glance assume it's a conspiracy theory surrounding the moon landing, it actually goes much deeper than that. The book brings up some actual legitimate questions surrounding the moon's physical makeup and its relation to Earth. According to astrophysicists, there really is no theory behind the moon's origin, and it doesn't really behave the same way other moons do. Knight and Butler propose, based on their research, that the moon actually holds no heavy metals and doesn't have a core. Something that, based on every other planet, moon, star in the universe, does and really shouldn't be possible. So, what the fuck is it? And more importantly, how the fuck did it get there? If so much of our existence and Earth's history was dependent on us having a moon, who put it there? And more importantly, who built the damn thing? Now, what does Beefy think about this one? I'm genuinely intrigued. I don't know enough about the science surrounding these claims, but one would assume if the facts were incorrect, they probably wouldn't be putting a book to print. Now, that being said, I'm definitely far from, if you see it online or in print, then it must be true. I'd like to know more about the subject. If anyone out there has a background in astronomy or whatever the crap, or, if you could answer some of these questions, shoot me an email or even drop a comment. I'm really fascinated by this one, but, we've got, 20 more mysteries that I don't have the energy to dive into it any further. Maybe in another video we can examine this topic a little further, but for now, next! The Chris Benoit Wiki Premonition. Apparently some 14 hours before police discovered the bodies of Chris Benoit's wife Nicole and their son, someone altered Chris Benoit's Wikipedia page to include the following. And again, this is before the police knew about the murders. Quote, Chris Benoit was replaced by Johnny Nitro, the ECW World's Champion, at the championship match at Vengeance, as Benoit was not there due to personal issues stemming from the death of his wife Nancy. Police investigated the IP address of who made these alterations, and although the editor was traced to Stamford, Connecticut, the location of WW headquarters for whom Chris Benoit was employed, it ended up just being a coincidence, both in location and in timing. Police have ruled out the editor as knowing anything about these crimes, and ultimately did not end up pressing charges. So, I consider myself somewhat of an amateur sleuth. I spend a lot of time, quote-unquote, investigating murders, both for this YouTube channel and my podcast. Link in description. As a rule, I don't let myself believe in coincidences. It's actually something that real investigators, like actual detectives, they typically stand by as well. I let the evidence carry where I'm going to investigate. I only rely on things that can actually be proven for certain. That being said, there is more evidence to suggest this actually was a coincidence than some version of foul play. This guy who made the edits, he was actually a pretty consistent Wikipedia troll. He had records of inserting false information on the pages of The Sopranos, Ron Artest, Stacy Keibler, Nagatugget, Connecticut, and a bunch more. So this guy was a troll who just happened to troll Chris Benoit about the death of his wife on the night she actually was murdered. So, as tasteless as it might be, no mystery here. Next! The Knot Deer. So the Knot Deer is a cryptid believed to roam the foot of the Appalachian Mountains, specifically in the Virginia, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina area, that just does not look like a normal deer, hence the name. People will see trail cams, pictures, they'll take videos of deer doing weird things and attribute it to a knot deer sighting, or even sometimes like a quote-unquote skinwalker. In reality, most of these deer are likely suffering from some form of ailment, whether they've recently been in an accident, or suffering from one of the very common deer diseases, such as chronic wasting disease, sometimes also referred to as zombie deer disease, wherein the deer, they kind of just run around aimlessly, not afraid of cards or people, and they're just really thirsty. They get really thirsty for water, but then once they actually get to the water, they aren't able to drink, so they end up drowning. That's not to say that some of these are freaking weird. Here, check this out.
عفاء حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. لا 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 والله يا جماعة مني بايع عمري أنا. والله يا جماعة مني بايع عمري. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل.
What's wrong with it? Oh my god.
Hey, Mike, and what do I see? A deer! Just stay there right there.
Always hunt with others, never alone. Something isn't right with this deer. Spooky bitch.
Yeah, some of those are freaking weird. There really are some good examples of what people classify more as, like, people actually kind of call these skinwalkers. I'd almost put more stock in the skinwalker theory than the not deer theory, but I love cryptids like Mothman and his magical butt. I find particularly charming. No matter where you live, there is a cryptid roaming around in your area. I persuade all of you to Google what the nearby cryptid is of yours, but this is another one of those. I find them all pretty fascinating. But yeah, probably not an unsolved mystery as much as just, fun folklore. But yeah, pretty fun. Pretty cool. Next! The Poe Toaster. So I know what you're thinking, and no, the toaster is not an actual toaster that imprints a face of Edgar Allan Poe on your bread. Albeit awesome as that would be. The Poe Toaster is actually an unidentified man who, starting in the 1930s, would visit Edgar Allan Poe's gravesite in Baltimore every year on his birthday. Dressed in all black and a wide-brimmed hat with a white scarf, the toaster would pour himself a shot of cognac at Poe's grave, leave the unfinished bottle on the gravesite along with 3 roses. The event eventually gained popularity and became an unofficial annual gathering for Poe fans and local Baltimore residents and, news media alike. Eventually, in about 1998, it was believed that the toaster passed away, and with no one reprising the annual tradition, various people would fill in for the now-deceased toaster, who never revealed himself. After a couple of years of absences, the Maryland Historical Society selected an official toaster to revive the tradition, and has since now become part of Baltimore's Halloween tourism. With Poe's birthday landing on October 7th, locals kick off the start of spoopy season by gathering at a local pub, and then at last call stumbling down a couple blocks to the gravesite to lift a shot alongside the toaster in remembrance of one of Baltimore's most famous residents. Now let's check out a news clip of this year's most recent toast.
Well, Kelly, tomorrow is Edgar Allan Poe's 214th birthday, and tonight at the church where he's buried, an eccentric tribute to Baltimore's most famous poet. Suddenly, there came a tapping. A ghostly figure out of the shadows, like something Edgar Allan Poe himself would write. Flowers, words in Latin, and a toast.
This one's cool. There's really no mystery aside from the identity of the original toaster. Speculation has led some to believe that the new toaster is somehow related to the original. However, locals that have attended the toastings for decades revealed that the authentic toaster actually had a secret signal that he would give onlookers, and apparently he would leave the roses in a very distinctive pattern, leaving the OG onlookers to dub the new toasters as quote-unquote faux toasters. And they believe the tradition should have died on the bicentennial of Poe's death in 1998, alongside when the original toaster did. This is leaving debates as to whether or not the original toaster actually did die, or whether or not he just saw, hey, 100 years have passed, this is a good time to just stop doing it, giving it a quote-unquote fitting end to an honorable tradition. I don't think there's any harm in people keeping it going. Cities are made unique by not only its tourism attractions, but its people, past and present. And I think Poe himself would be honored that the city is continuing on, toasting him to this day. And I think if he were able, he would certainly raise his dead alcoholic arm to toast alongside them. So, let's all pour one out for the homie. There you go, Poe. Next! The sheep-goat effect was coined by one Gertrude Schmeidler at the City University of New York to compare the difference between paranormal believers, sheep, or skeptics, goats. The hypothesis states that one is more open to paranormal happenings, and belief in the supernatural typically perform better in PSI tasks, or tasks that measure one's paranormal performance, than the latter goats who are more skeptical and doubt the existence of the paranormal. It's a pretty obvious contention to make that one is more inclined to lean into the hokum that is measuring one's aptitude into the paranormal. That'd be like saying someone who knows how to swim can swim better than someone who can't. Of course they can. They learned how to fucking swim. That being said, Who knows what kind of malarkey these tests actually derive their parameters from. Not to say I don't think there's nothing else out there. I think there may in fact be. But trying to ascertain whether the connection between one's abilities to believe or not believe in the paranormal somehow contributes to their ability to see and hear ghosts isn't exactly groundbreaking work. One might even come to say, ich hab ich. Ich hab ich. Moving on. Next! Astroworld Demonic Sacrifice Theory. Oh my god, this one's so fucking stupid. Astroworld Demonic Sacrifice Theory is this dumbass trend on TikTok where people were claiming the people who died at Astroworld in 2021 being squished in the crowd were actually sacrificed by Travis Scott in the name of the devil. The most concrete evidence they could point to for this theory is demonic imagery used in both the performance and around the festival, such as an open-mouthed Travis Scott head, a phoenix or a dove emboldened by flames, and even point to some of Travis Scott's lyrics, such as his body count. Yeah, I wish I could make fun of how stupid this is, but it would be pretty tasteless in what was like a genuine fucking tragedy. How these people can't come to that conclusion on their own, I have no fucking clue. I'm not sure if these people are stupid or just they want to spread hateful, ignorant shit in the name of clout. Either way, it fucking gives me the skeeves. Some of you might not know what a fucking mindless wasteland TikTok has become, but you will find some of the most toxic and misinformative opinions over there, all the while claiming victimhood from anyone who dares to so much disagree with them. It's pathetic. But here, let's take a look at some of these. I need to adjust the audio a little bit so I don't get taken down or demonetized, so apologies about that in advance.
Let's first speak about Travis Scott's Travis head that you must walk through to enter the concert. This Travis Scott head seems to be inspired by a picture of hell called the Christ in Limbo. As you can see, the Christ in Limbo painting has a demonic entity with its mouth open in a very similar fashion as the Travis Scott head.
He didn't stop because he wasn't allowed to stop. Y'all think like, oh, he was just inconsiderate and people were dying. The ritual had to be completed. If you guys go to those types of concerts, like, you've already been hypnotized by the music if that's what you're listening to. I listened to some of it because I was going down a rabbit hole yesterday watching these videos, and I saw probably like 7 shadows in my room that last night. I went to bed with like angelic protection, frequency music, and I did work with my angels and guides to protect myself because I could physically see that it attracted something just by having that music on, watching those videos. This was 100,000% a satanic ritual. Like, they're not even hiding it anymore. Like, if you look at the imagery, if you look at the way that it was set up as a portal, the burning dove, the upside down cross, like, it's all a thing. Be careful with these things. Don't go to these things. Don't listen to this kind of music. He literally says in his lyrics, like, I snatch souls. I'm a body collector. Like, are you guys really, like, what?
Trigger warning. Astroworld Festival 2021. Travis Scott's Astroworld was a satanic ritual. People went into the festival with great and upbeat energy and left feeling like they had just been in hell. Just watching the event on my phone. The entire set, triangle-shaped, looks satanic, demonic and like the gates of hell. I mean truly, look up Gates of Hell on Google or DuckDuckGo and compare them to the show. I linked it below. I've been to many raves even featuring Travis Scott, and this was something else. I'm sure they were probably using 808s and different vibrations to incite radical energy in the crowd. His album cover of the 2 songs he released before the show, Dystopia. Look up the meaning of dystopia if you don't know. Dystopia, an imagined state or society in which there is great suffering or injustice, typically one that is totalitarian or post-apocalyptic.
So yeah, there you go. Like I said, I can't even express with words how fucking stupid this is, and just bad taste, and it's gross, man. Next, para-apes. Para-apes are what some cryptozoologists use as a catch-all for any type of monkey-like or ape-like cryptid. For example, Bigfoot, Yeti, Duzetha, Gulliver, Old Slewfoot, etc. One particular article by Donald Worley claims that these para-apes are actually alien life forms and can vanish and reappear at will. He cites several examples of first-hand accounts, as do most cryptozoologists, but in a more clever move points to its extraterrestrial origins as an explanation as to why we have never captured one, or even gotten a decent video or picture. According to Wardley, these, what he refers to as in-betweeners, are not bound by the same laws of physics that we are, and can not only vanish and reappear, but they can go translucent, they can walk on air, they have this superhuman strength, and even have their own spaceships. It's pretty fucking out there, if you ask me. There is some pretty fascinating stuff surrounding Bigfoot if you really dig for it, like the animal calls that biologists cannot attribute to any living or documented species, the sheer number of sightings, the Zapruder film, the casts of Big Feet, like there's lots of stuff out there to lead us to believe there might be a Bigfoot. That being said, this one puts me a little further on the skeptic side than Bigfoot does. I could see one large bipedal ape roaming the forests of Washington, but like a whole species? let alone one that we've never found, never caught, can walk on air, and can drive spaceships. I don't know, man. Again, it's pretty out there. You could check out his research for yourself and come to your own conclusions, but for now, let's move on. Alright, I've been working on this video for a couple weeks now. I figured this is as good a place as any to stop. We'll see how this video does. If it gets like over 1K views, or you guys let me know you like it by smashing that like button, maybe I'll continue on or do more of these. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you check out all my other stuff in the description. If you like true crime, me and Alistair are still doing our podcast every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you can check that out. Be sure to leave comments, too. I'm trying to get back to responding to at least all the new comments on my current uploads. So, I always love to hear you guys' thoughts on one or several of these unsolved mysteries. If you have, like, a particular theory that you'd like to put out there, I'd love to hear it. So be sure to drop it down there. And, yeah, with that, I will see you in the next one. Love you guys. Thanks again for watching. Bye!